What's up, Titans fans? And welcome to another episode of Titans Global Podcast. I'm your host, Maximus Titan Fan. And with me, as always, is my good buddy Link. What's up, bro?
What's going on, guys? Good to be here, especially after a win. Finally got some good stuff to talk about. So we're going to cover it all. But first, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Most importantly, get in the comment section. We want to know what you guys think. And if you're already subscribed, give us a share, and we'll jump right into it.
Yeah, man. Just like he said, if you're watching us, we want you to watch on YouTube, but we appreciate anywhere you're watching us. Jump in the comments. We want to talk to people. We want to see what people think about our second win of the season. I've got a lot to talk about. Most of it's positive, but let's get right into it. Titans versus Patriots. Win it overtime, which is not exactly how I wanted it to go. But we did win. I I didn't say we would win on the show because, I kind of didn't want to. I don't know. I'll be honest with you guys, man. I'll be honest with you. I'm in a good mood. This is my first point tonight. I'm in a really good mood. And I tell you why. All right. When when I went to the game Sunday, the whole ride up there, I was thinking to myself, really doesn't matter. This game doesn't matter. It's you're not going to let yourself get emotional. You're not going to let yourself get too invested and be hurt or anything like that. We're not going to do that this time, man. And I'm telling myself this because I fear we're going to lose. And I didn't want, but I took my cousin to the game too. And it's his first time at a sporting event, even not just an NFL game, but he ain't never been to a sporting event, period. The only interest in football he really has is the fact that I'm interested in it and he looks up to me. So I took him with me just to experience it. And the whole time I'm thinking, man, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. I'm just going to have a good time. And then I get to the game and I get in the stands and I start, just kind of talking with some of my fellow Titans people around. Then some Patriots fan comes in, as always with the Titans. There's a lot of the opposing side is always around you. And yeah, man, this one really cocky ass Patriots fan kept talking smack the whole pregame, and it was almost irritating to me. I was like, bro, why don't I mean, I know we suck, but we
I mean,
both suck. It's not
I
like
don't think
just
either
us
of
suck.
these teams, neither of these teams had any room to talk smack in this game at
Exact.
any point.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
But then I get into the game and we start looking like we can actually, win. Like we're hanging in there and we're doing some positive stuff. And I mean, we do stupid stuff as well because we're still the Titans. But I mean, my point is when I left that game, I was happy. I was happy that we won. I wasn't thinking about if it messed our draft pickup. I wasn't thinking about anything like that. I was just thinking we won. And the entire walk back, which if you've been to a Titans game, it's a long ass walk back to your car. Usually you park across the river unless you have Titans parking or you pay out the rear end for parking. You're going to walk across the river. And as we're walking the entire time, I'm screaming, just randomly, just screaming at people, let's go Titans. And you hear people screaming back. And my cousin got in on it because he was loving it. He was screaming it. People were cheering at him and stuff. My point is that as a fan, as an analyst, I was starting to be on the side of, man, I don't care if we lose the whole season because that means we get a best draft pick and blah, blah, blah. But as a Titans fan, when I was there in the moment, I didn't care about tomorrow. I didn't care about draft pick. I was caring about right now. I want to see my football team win. And they did.
Yep.
And it absolutely made my day yesterday and today, if I'm being honest with you. I was in a good mood. I had a horrible day at work, bro. My dude wasn't there, my partner wasn't there, so I just like ran my rear end off, but not a bad mood in sight. You know why? Because Titans won.
It
And it
helps.
fixes everything.
Yeah, it does. It does. And that was kind of the vibe. So I listened to the post game press conference, and I'm sure it's been made available now for everybody to go listen to. And it's really interesting because the way that they start that press conference, like my thought going out of it, which I wasn't at the game, I watched it on TV. I stayed somewhat involved with it. It was tough at times, but yeah, I mean, I think going into that post game press conference, the feeling was initially from the reporters, from the fans who just watched it on television. I feel like a lot of the feeling was okay. They won a game that they were supposed to win. Still had some issues. Still had a lot of things to fix.
Hmm.
That's kind of my vibe going out of it. And then Callahan gets up there and basically almost cries, like chokes up, saying, like I needed this. And then you take a step back for a second and you realize that in that locker room, I mean, it's so easy to judge things from the couch, from the chair, even from the stands. It's so
Yep.
easy to judge the play that you see, but in the locker room, these are just dudes trying to win football games. I mean, that's what it comes down to. They're trying to find the scheme that works. They're trying to find the players that work. They're dealing with injuries, especially after this week, and we're going to talk about that. But at the end of the day, they're just trying to find a way to win a game, and it does feel good to win. And at this point, I'm not worried about draft order either. I think they needed this one. Now it's just going to be a matter of can you find some consistency? Can you put it together? Can you go beat a Chargers team? Can you go maybe upset one of these divisional opponents? And if we're sitting there at the end of the year and we've got 3, 4, maybe 5 wins, I'm okay with that. Like I'm okay with that because that means that there were moments during this season where they started to figure it out. Because if they don't win another one after this, we still have a lot of questions going into the offseason. And typically, if you're picking at the very number one pick in the NFL draft, a rookie's not going to come in and save your next season. And I don't think that's the case with the Titans.
Hmm.
I mean, if we're a top 5, top 10 pick, and you're sitting there with 5 wins, I think I'm okay with that as a season because it does feel good to win. The coffee tastes better. The conversations are better. Like it's good to get this. And I'm with Callahan. I needed this just like he did, just like these players did.
Yeah, same thing, man. I'll be honest with you. The victory speech is what got me a little verklempt, as Michael Myers used to say, showing my age. But the way he talked to the players and the way the players responded to him, there was concern, real concern, even in my own head, that maybe he had lost the locker room or he
I
had
agree.
lost the players.
Mhm.
Like some of them just, especially in the last game, the defense even just looked like they just kind of gave up and just resided to the fact that here we go again. We're going to lose another game, but not this time. And he even talked about that. He used the word resilient a lot over and over again in this game. And let me tell you, man, as someone who was there in the stands watching it happen, it was a resiliency. It had to be because there's so many holes in our team that, I mean, you got to figure out ways to fill it. And, not even on the same side of the ball. Sometimes offense and defense, it really did work this time. And like he said, we needed this. I needed
Yep.
this personally.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what we're gonna kind of get into tonight is it does feel good, but there are still some questions. And
Oh yeah.
just like I talked about, I mean, losing two very important pieces, both on the offense and the defense at safety and at center. It's not going to get any easier. I mean, let's be honest. This is most likely the only game you're going to play this year where you're favored in it. You're picked to win. I would dare to say most of the rest of these games you're still going to be the underdog, and they're going to have to find a way to battle. And we saw Mike Vrabel come in and do it. He found ways to win with reserve players. I think set an NFL record for most injured players throughout the year. And while this team has different struggles, they have to kind of be that. They have to go in. They have to be competitive because it's just what do we got? 9 games left. Like there's still a long way to go in this thing. So it's good to get the win, but still some things to figure out. Definitely some things to figure out.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I guess my message in the first part of this would be to any of the Titans fans. If you're just downtrodden right now and you haven't been to a game in a long time, go to a game.
Oh yeah.
Makes all the difference in the world being in the setting. I get it. I mean, when you can watch it on your couch for free, I can drink cheap beer. I can smoke cigarettes. I smoke cigarettes, and I can do that on my couch. I can't do that in the stadium. There's so many things that make it. I don't have to drive almost 3.5 hours to see it, and drive 3.5 hours home. But it is worth it, man. I mean, it's honestly worth it. Shout out to Scoob, by the way, man. Again, the reason I got to go to this game. And huge, the only one of the main things I was a little upset by, not that Scoob didn't win, because I mean, obviously I wanted him to be fan of the year. I got some other people, friends that are running for it. So I mean, I don't want to get too, but my point is it's not that I didn't want Scoob to win, because I did. But the fact that they picked a person that isn't even a season ticket holder. He's not at every single home game. He does no charity work that I know of. I could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't looked this up. But I just feel like I feel like they missed a spot on that one. But maybe I'm a little biased because Scoop's my boy. But I'm just saying. I'm just saying. There were other options out there that I feel like are better than that dude. But I don't know that dude. Not saying anything bad about Titan Man. I'm not trying to. I'm just saying I feel like they got that wrong. But it's all based on votes from the fans. So there you go. Mr. Reliable.
Yeah.
Do you know who I'm talking about? Because I feel
The
like
guy
a
who
lot of
just
Titans
catches
fans,
touchdowns.
I was gonna say, I feel like Titans fans have a guy in mind when they think of Mr. Reliable. But for me, who is always Mr. Reliable is NWI, but who has become Mr. Reliable for me
Tony
is Tony
Pollard.
Pollard in that
It is.
backfield. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in this game alone, 28 carries for 128 yards. That's a 4.6 yard per carry average. Plus, he had 3 receptions for 26 yards. He also broke a 32-yard run. I mean, trust me, that's one of those things that if you're in the stadium, it makes all the difference in the world. Because it's cool when I see it on TV. I jump up, I clap my hands, I scare the crap out of my daughter because she's playing Roblox or something like that, not paying attention. But at the stadium, not only are you doing it, but like 40,000, 50,000 fans are doing it with you.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Hmm, sweet experience. Sorry. Uh, any feedback you want to give on Tony Pollard?
No, I mean he's done exactly what he was brought in here to do. He's definitely given a threat to the defense, something they're having to look for now in these games, which I think has allowed them to open up their pass game a little bit over the last couple weeks, especially in the first half. So, yeah, more respect to him. And this is also a guy who didn't even practice all week, like missed the whole week, didn't practice, shows up on Sunday, and just puts in a top notch performance. So, great to have him in the backfield. Going to be interested to see. Looks like we're going to start getting a little bit healthier with some guys. Curious to see how they handle when Tajay Spears comes back. I kind of expect him to go next week along with Will Levis.
Mm-hmm.
So to see how they utilize Pollard when Tajay Spears is back, considering that considering that Callahan basically said himself, we're going to get him more involved when he's healthy. It's going to be interesting. I think it could be a good 1-2 punch. I think it might open some things up in the playbook. But right now, being the primary back and the number one go-to guy, Pollard stepped in and done, at least what he was expected, if not more.
Yeah, and another thing I want to bring up is a lot of people talk about Titans right now that are succeeding on other teams. And it is frustrating, especially as a Titans fan who watches these guys, just play like crap for 3 years, 4 years, go on to another team, and then all of a sudden they look like Pro Bowlers.
Yeah.
Um, Tony Pollard, and the Dallas Cowboys are upset with themselves right now for keeping Ezekiel Elliott over Tony Pollard. I mean, I'm just saying. It's my personal opinion, but I feel like if I was a Dallas fan, I'd be pretty upset that they let Tony Pollard go in lieu of, Ezekiel Elliott, who has never really proven to be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, but they paid Dak Prescott, and then they're sitting there with what, 3 wins now?
Mm,
So kind of right down here with the Titans, but they have some different problems. I mean, they've got a quarterback they've already paid, much like Jacksonville. Quarterback they've already paid that they're having questions about. Very questionable defense. Now, I mean, granted they do have a few injuries over there on that side of the ball, but questionable defense, a quarterback that's not working out, and then you let Pollard go, keep Zeke, and it
mm.
just hasn't proven very fruitful for them. So
Yeah,
just remember, as Titans fans, there are worse situations. Not saying theirs is better or worse, but you know, other people have problems too. This isn't just a Titans thing in this league. There's a lot of other teams with 2 to 3 wins.
agreed. What's up, dude? Yeah, no, I totally see what you're saying there, Michael. And yeah, I don't want to talk about who's number one. But we all know who's number one. He's the king. He always has been. But we're talking about Titans today. Mr. Reliable, like I said, the new Mr. Reliable for me is Tony Pollard. Always will be Mr. Reliable. And by God, I said it on social media. I can't believe I'm saying this. If you would have told me this a year and a half ago, I would have laughed you completely out. But we need to lock down NWI for at least a couple more years. That dude is just there, man. When you need him, he's there and he's usually open, which I don't know if that's because the NFL defensive backs don't see him as that threatening, or if it's just because he just seems to find seams or areas. But dude, man, yeah, give him credit, man. Was it 50 yards on 5 receptions,
Mhm.
touchdown? Can't can't go wrong there, bro. Good job, NWI.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a guy that keeps showing up. He's always available. I kind of expected him to be used more up until this point, but
Hmm.
I mean, shows up when he's called. I mean, 6 targets, like you said, 5 catches, 50 yards, the touchdown. I mean, it's solid numbers. It's solid numbers. It's solid play. Maybe the best route runner on this offense right now with Hopkins gone. So yeah, I mean, he's going to get utilized, and he's I'm treading carefully because this isn't a guy I want to see at the trade deadline tomorrow. But he's definitely playing his way into a contract, whether it be with the Titans or somebody else. So yeah, if they can lock that up, keep him around, I think he's definitely a solid number 3 to 4 going ahead for the next couple of years.
Yeah, man. Over the last 4 games of the season, over the last 4 games, 10 receptions, 108 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 5 first downs. How
Mhm.
can you not like that?
Mhm.
I mean, that's number two numbers all day long. And maybe not number two numbers, but you
Yeah,
get
that's
what
what I'm
I'm
saying.
saying.
I'd love him as a 3 or 4, but yeah, still need somebody there. And I want to kind of talk about Ridley too. His performance. Had a couple drops, but yeah, I mean that's the guy that you expect to be your wide receiver one. You're a little short at that 2 spot. Tyler Boyd, Jaquan Jackson, haven't really seen those guys step up as much as NWI. But Calvin Ridley, it's still a little bit streaky for me. I mean,
Hmm.
8 targets, 5 receptions. There's really only one that I can point to that should have definitely been caught. It was when he was kind of sliding down and it just hits him in the chest. Um, another one I thought the deep ball was a little underthrown, but at what $90 million, I mean that's a guy you expect
Yeah,
to
you
make
gotta
some
catch
of
that
those
one.
clutch catches. Yeah, I mean that's you can argue both ways, but if you're paying this guy like a number one, I expect him to make number one catches. So again, just little things to figure out there, and this is an offense who's probably going to see Will Levis back in next week. So, seeing how early they try to get Ridley involved with Levis and get that connection going, um, still some things to figure out there. So, excited to see it, but I thought this game, obviously Ridley was good enough, made some contested catches, definitely was involved in the win, and then NW obviously being number two. So, yeah, I mean, not too much to complain about at the receiver position.
Yeah, as far as the eye test goes, not that hugely impressed this week with Calvin Ridley, especially after the performance he had last week. I really felt like we had broke through a wall
Yeah.
last week, and maybe I was just a little quick to judge. Maybe he's just starting to figure out some things, and he needs a couple more weeks to really gel.
Yeah. And again,
Of
I
course,
mean,
he's not going.
well, I was gonna say it's streaky, and then if I'm the Patriots and I'm watching last game's film, they were given safety help on him. I mean, he was covered for the majority of the game. I never really saw him run completely free multiple times. So I mean, yeah, they were playing him tight, but that's just what you get when NWI is your number two, and he was able to take advantage of it yesterday. But Ridley's gonna get he's going to get attention just because he's supposed to be the number one here. So he's going to have to find a way to overcome that.
What do you think about that fake reverse flea flicker?
It worked. I
Yes.
mean, I can't. Again, gadget plays for me. I like them. They're exciting in the moment, but if it doesn't work out, I guess you're 1-6. You got nothing to lose. I'm just glad it worked out for Callahan because that might have not gone over well if that was a sack or an
Oh
interception.
God, yeah. Now I'll be honest with you though, being in live action, I lost the ball. I was like,
Yeah.
who lost the ball? Until Mason like cocked back to throw it. I didn't know who had the ball at that point. But then I got all excited because not only did I see Mason cock back, I look up and Ridley's wide open. I mean,
Yeah.
he's 8, 10 yards from the nearest defender. And that is another thing I want to bring up real quick, but I don't want to take too much time on it. But the thing about Ridley that really bothers me isn't the drops, it's the yards after the catch, which for me, yak yards are the absolute like bread and butter of the NFL. That's where you really make your points is wide receiver yak yards. And he doesn't do well after he gets the ball in his hands. I don't know why he did that weird cut. Uh, I think it was last week where he did have a great game, but he catches that deep ball. And man, I swear, if you just keep running straight ahead, you're going to get a touchdown. But
Yeah.
for some reason, he jukes left and gets tackled almost immediately. It just made no sense to me.
Yeah, there's some things. I mean, obviously, we talked about he's a twitchy guy. He tries to make something happen. I think right now he's just. I think last week helped, but I think he's still in his head a little bit. Like he's
Hmm.
obviously there's a lot of pressure on him. I mean, let's just be honest. He's getting paid $90 million. DeAndre Hopkins is gone. He's the number one on this team. Right now. I think he's just focused on making these catches, and I think that's playing into it a little bit, but yeah, I still think we're close. And I know I keep saying that, and I know the team keeps saying that, but you saw that breakout in the first half last week, and then they, for whatever reason, the second half it kind of just disappeared. But I do feel like it's close. I
I
expect.
agree.
I think last week is honestly closer to what I think we would see from Ridley in the next 2 to 3 years than the first few weeks where it's just drop after drop after drop. I think the ceiling is definitely worth it to keep giving it a shot. Um, and yeah, like I said, he's just got to figure it out. He's got to put it all together, make the catches, get downfield, and then do what you do best. Run in the open field.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, man. As like again, when you're at the game and then you come home and look at the stats, it's a little different than when you watch it on TV and you go home and look at the stats. I don't know why, it just feels different. But man, there were so many passes that I felt like were too high or just way off, and it was like, what are you doing, man? Like, what the hell are you doing? But then I come home and I look at the numbers, and he's 20 of 33 for 240 yards, two touchdowns, interception, 90.5 rating. Uh, Box score looks good, but to the eye test, it doesn't.
No, I think even I was with you on the eye test too. I mean, the interception wasn't great. That I still have a problem with. And you're right. There are definitely some overthrows, some underthrows, but I mean, this is what we expect from a backup quarterback. I mean, that's what Mason Rudolph is. So I think he's come in, he's done the job respectfully. Um, he's done enough. He did enough to win the game yesterday, and that's what I think. I'm getting exactly what I thought I would get from Mason Rudolph. If he came in and set the world on fire, that's great. But I didn't expect that. This is kind of the stat line I expected, and it does look good. The 240, the 20 for 33, but there is some bad mixed in with the good.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just to know, I think he's a good game manager. I think this is an average Tannehill type game. That's what I feel like Mason Rudolph is. He's going to come in, he's going to make some plays, he's going to have some bad plays. I mean, it's what you get. It's what you get, and that's why I think everybody wants Willis to come back in, or Levis to come back in and kind of take the job and be the guy. And I guess he's still trying to prove that. The coaching staff seems to think so. They still think he can make those plays. So we'll see. I mean, we're about to get another unknown thrown right back into this mix.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. Mason, he's all right. He just doesn't pass the eye test for me. But let's be clear, that throw, the interception, the throw to Chig was a little bit high, but
Mhm.
Chig should have caught that. It was within a catch radius. The fact that it was intercepted was basically the fact that Chig let it bounce off his fucking hands.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean
I'm
it's
just
a little bit of both. I mean the pass is a little high, and yeah, you expect a good tight end to come down with that ball, but again, we're talking about Chig. I mean, where has he been all year? He's
oh,
he's made a
dude,
play here and there, but I mean I don't expect. If do I expect Travis Kelsey to make that catch?
yeah,
Absolutely, every single time. Do I expect Chig
Josh
to make that
Wiley
catch?
should have made that catch.
Yeah, I mean, but nothing in Chig's history has shown that I would trust him to make that catch. So it has to be a better ball just because you're throwing it to Chig, if that
All
makes
right,
sense. So I
no,
mean
I
that's
give you
that's my
that.
thing. So it's if you're going to call that play and he's going to be open, you got to put it on the numbers. I mean that's what I would expect a Will Levis to come in and do. He throws it into the tight windows. That's what I want to see from him coming back. I want to see him have these Mason Rudolph type performances, and then the small ones that Mason's missing on, I expect him to hit.
Yeah, another thing is, man, I'll be honest with you. I like Mason Rudolph's play mostly. He's a little vanilla, but mostly.
Mm-hmm.
The big problem with me is his fire. I don't feel like he has that leadership quality, that chip on the shoulder. That I wish you could take just a little bit of Will Levis's attitude and give it to Mason Rudolph, or take a little bit of Mason Rudolph's chillness and give it to Will Levis. One or the other. If you could just smash just both of those, you know what I'm saying though? If you could just
Here's
meld them together.
I agree, but here's my thoughts on that too. I don't think you're going to get that from Mason Rudolph because he doesn't want to give it in this locker room. I mean, put yourself in Mason Rudolph's position right now, which I think about probably more than I should. But if you put yourself in a position, he came in here. He accepted a backup role. He kind of knew that's what he was getting into. He obviously still thinks that he's a starter caliber quarterback in the NFL, which he could be. I mean, we've seen other quarterbacks do it. He did some good things in Pittsburgh, and then he gets here. He takes the backup role. Will Levis comes in, has the play that he had, makes those mistakes. You have fans wanting Rudolph to come in the games. It doesn't happen until Levis gets hurt. So Levis gets hurt. Rudolph comes in. That first week he came in, they didn't even let him practice with the ones. So obviously, he's going to be a little upset about that because it showed in his performance. Then the coaching staff's like, well, when Levis gets healthy, he's our guy. We're going right back to him. And then Rudolph's sitting there like, well, the 2 games we've won, I've orchestrated both of those wins. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going on. I don't know
That's a
Mason
fact.
Rudolph. I don't know what type of person he is. But if I'm that person, and if I'm that quarterback, I take a little bit of offense to that. Does that make sense? I mean, that's a
Yeah.
little upsetting. Now, obviously, I've got guys I'm friends with in the locker room, but it's like, hey, I won these 2 games. This guy has proven that he actively has lost the first 3 games. So why am I getting benched? Why am I not getting a bigger shot? Why can I not put my tape out? And if it's not for you, why can't I put tape out for other teams next year? So I kind of get where Rudolph would be coming from if he did think that. And I think that's led to a little bit of why, like when he gets up and talks about it, he's like, well, I didn't practice with the ones. And yeah, I just, I wait my turn and I'm ready to go. And then I think there's something there because there definitely would be for me.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that, man. And I could totally see that. That makes a lot of sense. I haven't really thought of it that way, but it makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as Mason goes, yeah, he probably thought this was a great opportunity coming in because, yeah, he saw, a franchise that could need a patch quarterback, and that's kind of exactly what we need right now. And so I can kind of see where he would be coming from with some frustrations from the front office, saying that they're going directly back to Levis after he played arguably the best game so far as a Titan quarterback uh, when he actually had time to practice.
I mean, again, the only 2 wins on your schedule were orchestrated by Mason. And look, I'm not advocating one way or the other. As a Titans fan and as someone who wants to see them succeed for the next 2 years, I do think you have to go back to Levis. I get it. I get it from the front office's point of view, but at the same time, looking at it from Rudolph's point of view, I could see his frustrations and where he would be coming from too. But you're just in this kind of limbo situation of, you know, I don't think they really know who their next quarterback is, if that makes sense.
No,
I don't think they've got a guy in the draft that they really want. I don't think they've got a guy that's about to walk into free agency that they really want. And I think because of that, that's why they're trotting Levis back out there because maybe this guy can put some decent performances together and prove that, he may not be the guy, but he might be your patch quarterback option if he can kind of get out of his own head. So I get going back to Levis. I agree they probably should go back to Levis. It's just I don't know how much more of those mistakes I can watch as a person. I mean, it's the last 2 weeks we haven't had to think about it, but this is a guy who has made some pretty stupid mistakes and looks like we're taking him to LA to start a football game. So just going to need to see them kind of calm him down and see what he can do.
well, not only that, he's a walking meme factory, dude. I
Yeah.
really wish he would stop doing that. Like, even on the week he didn't start, he was still a meme, and it was
Yeah.
annoying to me. It's like, damn it, can you guys please stop?
Hmm.
But anyway, yeah, I know. I haven't seen it yet, obviously, because we're doing the show, but I will go watch it. Apparently, D Hop scored and did a Remember the Titans dance.
Oh,
So,
okay. Cool.
love you, D Hop. I don't know if that's a slam, a slight, or an homage. I hope it's homage. Anyway, let's talk some more positive. I'm all about the positive this week, man. I've got a little bit of negative, but mostly it's positive. Jack Gibbons
Hmm.
is a backup at best. But this game, he was freaking everywhere, dude. He had 14 tackles, a half sack, 2 tackles for a loss, and a quarterback hit, but 14 tackles. I think the next highest tackle rate was like 7 or 8. I
Yeah,
can't
Brownlee
remember.
had 7.
There you go.
Yep.
But yeah, great job, Jack Gibbons. Again, back up, but great job.
Yeah, I mean, it's just again, it's and Brownlee with the second with 7. I mean, that's what we're looking for this season. We're looking for guys to step up and make plays. some young dudes who may have not been starters on this roster to begin with, and now they are. And seeing if they can carry some of that over into next year, seeing what guys want to be here, seeing what kind of guys continue to fight, and I mean, Gibby's been one of those guys. He keeps showing up. I don't know how he's been. Has he made any of the severe blunders on special teams? I mean, obviously, I don't think he played much special teams this week just because he was playing linebacker so much. But prior to that, do you know the answer?
I'll be honest with you. I have not paid attention to the special teams in the last week or two.
Yeah, I'd have to look back, but yeah, I mean, again, he shows up this week. He does what you ask him to do. 14 tackles is ridiculous, and then the half a sack. So good for him. It's going to be guys like him, like Brownlee, like Jaquan, and I'll get to his special team stuff later because I want to get there. But guys like that, it's those prove it moments, and he did that this week.
Yeah, and speaking of Brownlee, man, he had a great game too. Man, it would have been an amazing game though if he'd have caught that interception,
He
man.
should have. I mean, it was close.
It was
That's why he's not a receiver. That's why he's playing DB.
exactly. That's what I always say when we miss one. I'm like, well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is why he's not a wide receiver and why he's a defensive back. Because he's not
Yep,
known for catching balls. He's known for slapping them out of other people's hands.
that's right.
Mike Brown had a great game too. Didn't pop off on the stat sheets or anything like that, but the eye test was actually better than the stat sheet on this one. For me, I thought Mike Brown had one of the best games of all of the Titans last week.
Yeah, and I'll bring one up too because it didn't show up on the stat sheet near as much. But have we seen the best two games from Arden Key in a Titans uniform as far as pressure goes?
Yes,
I think so too.
absolutely. I hope
Um,
they haven't been. I hope the answer is no.
well, I don't know that that's a name that I was looking at Landry possibly being a splash before the trade deadline. Don't
Hmm.
be surprised if they start getting calls on Arden Key. And I'm okay with that. I mean, I
Me
like
too.
Arden Key, and I think he has played his two best games as a Titan. But if he's
Hmm.
done that to put tape out, and you can go get a fifth, maybe a conditional fourth for a guy like Arden Key, I think that's a win-win-win situation. I think the Titans get something good back for him. I think the other team gets a heck of a pass rusher when he's on his best game, and I think Arden Key can go somewhere and be that guy. So look for that prior to trade deadline tomorrow.
Not only that, I don't mind the production we're getting from Key when we're paying him $1.5 million for his salary
Exactly.
this year.
Yep.
I do not want to get this same kind of production when we're paying him $7.5 million next year,
Exactly. Yep.
and it's not guaranteed money next year. So
Mhm.
either way, I feel like yeah, Arden Key could actually be a very big trade target over the next well tomorrow, I guess is it. But over the last two games, 8 tackles, 3 sacks, a forced fumble, and 4 quarterback hits.
Yep.
He is definitely playing his best football right now over the last
Mhm.
2 weeks. So,
Yep. And then another guy on defense I'll talk about that I thought would have also been one of those guys who you might look at for a trade option just to go ahead and rip the band aid off. Quandre Diggs out for the season. That's kind of a big blow. Thought he might have been another splash trade that they could have made. Um, I also felt like even if it wasn't Quandre Diggs, I thought Amani Hooker might have been a target for some other
nah.
teams. But now if I'm the Titans, I'm like, well, if he's out for the season, we got to just have somebody back there. But I heard some rumblings about Hooker, but I don't know if the Diggs injury doesn't happen. I think more about it, but I'm not so much sure now.
Man, I'll be honest with you. I don't really like that idea. I mean, I understand it and I get it. For the money, I don't know. I like Hooker. And if he feels comfortable with who he's playing with, which is why Diggs is such a problem for me, I mean, you can see what he can do. He had a career game last week, 2 interceptions. He was all over the place, making tackles. So I don't know. I hate the idea of trading off Monty Hooker, but at the same time, I get it.
Yep.
He's starting to get a little bit higher in the age,
Yep.
and we're really looking at a two-year portal. So I don't know, man. I mean,
I just don't.
you
I
kind of
don't
look
want
at
it.
things and it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want it to become another Kevin Byard situation, if that makes sense.
Yes,
I think Kevin Byard, I think his time was kind of up in Tennessee before his time was up, unfortunately. I think he was being asked to do a lot of stuff at an older age that he just wasn't able to do. And, then he gets to the Eagles and doesn't look much better those first few weeks. So, yeah, I don't want to end up in another situation like that with Amani Hooker. Now I know there's still a lot of tread on the tires, but hey, if you call me with there's some teams that might call with a fifth, and again, a possible conditional fourth. And I just think this draft is so deep in those second, third, and fourth rounds that I think they need to buy up all the stock they can get. I've talked about not really being sold on a lot of quarterbacks in the first round, but if you look at the talent throughout college football right now, I think the second, third, and fourth round are going to have a lot of hits this year.
that's really funny because I was thinking to myself when you said that, or well, when you were talking, was I would rather take a fourth or fifth this year than a sixth or seventh next year.
Exactly.
So I get what you're saying on that, strike while the iron's hot. But hang out with us for just hold on for 40 seconds. Got to do our sponsorships. You know how it goes. 40 seconds, though, we're right back with some more talk about Titans. What's up, Titans fans? Maximus Titan fan here. Are you in need of professional excavation services? Look no further. Red Zone Builders has the expertise, experience, and equipment to handle all or any excavation project, big or small. Whether you need land clearing, site preparation, trenching, foundation excavation, or any other excavation services, they have you covered. Their team of skilled professionals work diligently to ensure your project is completed safely, efficiently, and to your satisfaction. Trust the experts at Red Zone Builders to get the job done right. Oh, man. I mean, that went off all right. But while we were on that 40-second break, I saw a new comment that came in. My dude, Logan, bro, the Jags are not better than us, man. That's the one thing.
From
Yeah,
a office standpoint
don't
and
do that.
future outlook standpoint, or from a this year
Record,
play on the field.
record, and play on the field.
Okay,
They are not better than us.
I
And
mean,
the
we got
only
2 games to figure
reason
it out.
Hey, the only reason I can take solace in the fact of how bad we suck is the fact that we didn't give a top fifth round or a top five pick, or we didn't pay him $250 million to be the Will Levis that he is. And two teams in our division kind of did. That's the only solace I get. That's it. Don't take that away from me, Logan.
I will say I think the Titans are in a better position moving forward. I will say from a talent standpoint and where both of these teams stand right now as of today, I think the Titans are lucky to split those games.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I think the Titans are on a better trajectory, but when you talk about this year, I mean, Trevor Lawrence has had some pretty good games against the Titans. So I'm not ready to say the Titans are better before they go play 2 games against them on the field. But trajectory wise, I think the Titans are in a much better position because that contract's going to come back to bite them pretty hard on
Oh
Lawrence if he
yeah,
doesn't change
yeah, and
something.
he did. What is his name? Shah Khan or whatever, Shaka Khan,
Mm-hmm.
whatever his
Yep.
name is, dude. Homeboy has screwed the Jags for many
Yeah.
years in the future. Y'all are gonna find yourselves in salary cap hell just like we did, except you won't do it on a Super Bowl season. You'll just do it on a 3-12 or
Yeah.
whatever it is. But anyway, moving
Yeah,
on.
go back to Europe and play those games over there for all I'm
There you
concerned.
go. Yeah, just play some Europe games. It's the
yeah.
only way you can get on prime
What's your
time
best stat?
anyway.
It's what's your best stat.
Yeah. So, Something else I kind of want to get on to here is Jeffrey Simmons. Everybody knows Jeffrey Simmons is my favorite Titan, and I will go to bat for him when a lot of people are up against him. Last 2 weeks, he's played really well. I was even saying I guess after the first quarter of the season, after the first 4 games, I was upset with the play that I was getting from Jeffrey Simmons.
Mhm.
Now, I didn't know if it was from injury or if it was from what it was, but I was not happy with the play I was getting. Now, the last 2 weeks, I am happy with the play I'm getting from Jeffrey Simmons. He's still not popping off on the stat sheets, but he is making plays that is making a difference in the game for sure. Uh, Last week he had a 15% pass rush win rate. Sorry, that's really hard to say. And this week he had a 18.9% with 37 pressures or 37 pass attempts. I believe he had 7 pressures, which was a week or the high for the Titans this week. So out of everybody there, Jeffrey Simmons is. Somebody made a comment to me. Can he chase down the quarterbacks? I mean, which quarterback we talking about? You talking about Peyton Manning? Yeah, anybody can chase him down. But are we talking about, Lamar Jackson or even Drake May, who's, freshly out of
Oh,
college?
jeez.
No,
I'm
maybe
sorry.
not.
I got kind of freaked out thinking about that last play to go into overtime. But continue.
Dude, no,
Continue.
I'm with you on that, man, because I was sitting there thinking, how
Yeah.
in the world does Drake May. Not
Yeah.
only does he escape 2 off the bat, but then 3 defenders come at him at the same time, and somehow he still gets that ball off, and
Yeah.
he doesn't like wackadoo it to a defensive player like Will Levis did. He actually scores a touchdown,
I mean, he
which is
throws it up
just
where his guy can get it. And God, I mean, when you think about the way the Titans have lost these games this year, that just felt like one of those moments where it's
mm,
like, wow, this is how they're
here
going
we
to lose
go.
this game. And kind of criminal from Patriots not going for two. I mean, if you're the Titans in that same situation and you make a
Oh yeah,
play
you
to
better
get a
go.
touchdown, we go for two at 1-6, right? I mean, that just seems
Absolutely.
okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the thought process was there. A few questionable calls from that coaching staff as well as the Titans coaching staff. But yeah, anyway, back to Jeffrey Simmons. We'll get there.
Yeah, man, and some people are saying that they're upset with Jeffrey Simmons for how much we're paying him and how much production we're getting out of him. And again, first 4 games of the season, I kind of agree with you. Not great, not flashy numbers, not good pressures, nothing really to speak of in the first 4 weeks that was uh, fitting of his contract. Last 2 weeks, however, huge difference. The main difference between him and say like an Aaron Donald or somebody like that is because they have actual edge rushers that put pressure on him. If we want to talk about that last play, how much time untouched did Drake May have
Mhm.
before he got even touched by a defender? That's my problem with Harold Landry. If you're taking up 2 to 3 guys, let's just say 4 guys, double team both guys, Sweat and Simmons, that only leaves 1 or 2 guys to block on the edges. So either Arden Key or Harold Landry should get open like 75% of the time because 75% of the time they're getting double teamed.
Yep.
So I don't understand if people want to get upset at Harold Landry's contract, get upset at well, you can't really this year at Arden Key's contract, but you can next year for sure. My point is that the production isn't missing from the middle, it's missing from the edge.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. I think it's a little bit of both. I would say I think Simmons has been look when you're making the Patriots move tackles inside during drives, you're obviously doing something good on the interior. I think Sweat and
Yep.
Simmons both had a good game. I think Simmons, like you said, had a good game last week. So I've seen it 2 weeks. Now I need to see it 3 and then 4 and then 5. I just need him to show the consistency that I would expect at that contract. So I do agree that he has a lot left in the tank. I don't think it's all on him, but it's just these random plays here and there, like Penei Sewell shoving him through the back of the end zone, the pancake blocks. It's every now and then it cuts to him on the field, and you just don't see that full 100% effort. And some of that could have to do with energy and or injury. Some of it could have to do with being on a 1-6 football team. I don't know. I see the flashes. I see the good games. I just need to see the consistency. And then, yeah, when you talk about the edge rushers, there absolutely has to be more help there. That's why, and I refuse to do mock draft Monday, especially after a win. But that's why, in these first rounds and even in the second and the thirds, don't be surprised if we see them take an edge rusher like a James Pierce. Go Vols. But if you see them take a guy like that, because while, yes, you do have a lot of pieces on offense that you have to get fixed, it feels like you're not that far away on defense. It just feels like if you
Yeah.
get a good guy on the edge, if you get some of these corners healthy, if you get the right safety back there with Hooker, I mean, you're really, really close. Really, really close. On the defensive side. So, yeah, I mean, if they spend the first round draft pick on an edge rusher, I don't hate the idea. Get the defense fixed in the first round. You don't have to worry about it, and then figure out your pieces on offense. But yeah, I need to see more on the edge, and I need to see consistency from Simmons. That's my main takeaways.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm mostly positive tonight, but there is a big negative elephant in the room. Same elephant that's been haunting us for I don't know what 3, 4, 5 weeks now. Special teams is a effing joke.
Yeah.
Believe they got like a 35, 45 yard return on a kickoff, which was just saddening. But I was right. We were right, is what I should say, buddy. Because when we went to the Titans practice, we saw Ryan Stonehouse nailing 60, 70 yard punts with 3 to 5 second hang time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? I got there early. So I was there for the pregame warm up. And Ryan Stonehouse was nailing with no problem 60 to 70 yard punts, 3 to 5 yard hang time like it was nothing. But for some reason in the game,
Mm-hmm.
he averaged 46.6 yards and his long was 58. Now, we all know Stonehouse can bang them longer than 58. And we all know he can put more hang time on it. But it's hard to do that when you can't keep people out of his face. There was a kick that was almost blocked towards the end of the game. I'm sure everybody saw it just like I did at the game. It scared me, and I thought I had flashbacks for a second there of last year where he got hit, and it was, oh my God, what are we going to do on punts now?
Yeah, and I'm still in the territory of both here. I do think the blocks need to be better. Um, but man, like you saw him do it. Like he had one where he pinned him. I think it was a 9 yard line. He had the hang
Mm-hmm.
time. He had the distance. I don't see the directional stuff. I don't see the hang time the majority of the time. And yeah, I think he's rushed. And I think maybe even when he's not rushed, he feels rushed because he's so used to being
Yeah.
rushed. I think that's a lot of the problem. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there's just a lot of wrong, and it's hard to find what's right in that.
I
I
will
don't know
say
how you
I
fix that.
wish I will say I wish by year 3 his directional kicking would have been improved a little bit by now.
Yeah,
So I
and
will
then
say that's a concern.
I also had a problem because it was big in the pregame. Them, they interviewed him and they said, why don't you kick it out of bounds? And he kind of made everybody try to feel like an idiot, be like, oh, this we don't do this because we don't want to leave it up to the refs on where they spot the ball. Like, okay, but we also don't want to get 50-yard returns on us every single play. So I
Yeah.
don't get that. Like, just kick it out of bounds, kick it through the end zone because I'm starting to think he can't like that. I mean, I hate to say that, but I'm starting to think he's scared he's going to shank one of these to the sideline. I don't get it. I don't get it. And he's like, well, we want to pin him deep, and we don't want the ref to spot the ball. And I mean, all that's well and good, but you're the worst special teams unit in the NFL. I mean, I think that's kind of a given at this point. And then on the opposite side of the ball, Jaquan Jackson. I mean, what are we doing? That could have easily ended the game as much as anything else. Two fumbles that he was able to get back on, but I mean, those would have been absolute killers in this game. So I mean, I guess it's good that he was able to recover them, but that's it's just so many problems on the special teams unit. And I don't know. I mean, they're not going to fire the coach. That's obvious. The players you got are the players you got. Even the guy you brought in here, false starts on the opening kickoff. Like, I don't know.
The-
I don't know
I
what they
feel
did
like
here.
I feel like special teams is a mess, and I feel like Callie's not gonna jump the gun on his buddy or whatever and can his friend, which I absolutely hate because these are all everything you just talked about are all coaching. Every bit of it. Now, part of it's execution. You know, you could say, oh, he's coaching the players. They're just not executing. Well, obviously, he's not coaching it into them hard enough because I can tell you, you can change people's habits. Logan knows what I'm talking about. We changed his habits. That's the point. That's what coaching does. You change their instinct. Oh, well, you instinctually want to cover up when someone could. No, dude, just lower your shoulder and take them on. You change that thought pattern. That's what good coaching does. So clearly, there is no coaching on the special teams unit because it hasn't improved anywhere at all. Now, Folk is doing Folk magic, and that's great.
Yeah, but he's
But
a 30-something-year-old kicker who's been doing
I
this
was going to
well
say,
before this coaching
has
regime was in
nothing to
place.
do with coaching. Yeah.
Exactly.
If you
And
want to
that's
look at things, it's Jaquan Jackson, and you said
mhm.
the things you were talking about, exactly it. Lack of coaching, and in my opinion, it won't get any better until we do something about it.
No, I agree. And look, I think you've got to have that conversation with the coaching staff as a whole because I've seen these defensive players come in as rookies and have a ton of development. And, credit Denard Wilson. He's been able to come in, teach these young guys, have them playing, like starters their rookie year. But then you look on the offensive side of the ball in the special teams, and I just don't see any development. I just don't see it from. I mean, you look at Levis. I've seen him regress. I've seen Jaquan Jackson regress over the course of the season, and then not even really get involved at the wide receiver position. Um, I just I don't know. I've seen this offensive line. They continue to struggle at right tackle. They're not able to put somebody there to try to fix these things. And now you're going to be going in with the rest of the season. I mean, I would expect Corey Levin's going to be the center for the rest of the season. So they're
They
going to
already
have to
said
try to.
Brunskill's going to do it as
Oh, they
soon
did.
as
Okay.
yeah.
But even then, I mean, a younger guy, you're going to have to develop him. You're going to have to find ways to win. I haven't seen that from the special teams or the offensive side of the ball. So, there's a lot of positive things to take from this win, but there's still a lot more games to go and a lot more report cards still to be written. So I need to see some more from the development of these young guys.
100%. And that's why I think we said it in our last game. The reason that it's important for us to watch every single snap or keep watching these games or be invested in these games is because you get to see who is going to actually contribute to us in the future. Because a lot of these guys probably won't be here when we're competitive again.
Yep.
So this is the time to be taking an investment into these players. And the fact that there's not much development going on is the problem. And that's what we're really worried about. Now, I do feel like the offensive line is developing a little bit. They're having a hard time doing something with the right side because God knows. But even plugging Corey Levin in last week, I felt like he did a really good job coming in last game. But he came in, I mean, played admirably.
Yeah, I mean what concerned me was you had, and again, I mean it doesn't matter because he's not going to be the starter going forward, but he did have that very one high snap, which was credit to Rudolph. He was able to extend all of his vertical, kind of catch it off his fingertips, and then towards the end of the game, was it Was it before half or before then? I can't remember. But there was another snap that was fumbled. So yeah, I don't know. There's again, we'll
Yeah,
see how they move forward, but the right side is definitely a point of contention, and now the center position, I'm gonna see. I mean, obviously they didn't think he was good enough to come in last game, so what makes them think he's good enough now? So we'll see. We'll see.
yeah, no, I agree. The snaps was not great. But as we just talked about, Corey Levin did not take any snaps at center. I'm pretty sure he hasn't at practice or anything. I mean, maybe with the practice squad, but he doesn't snap it to Mason Rudolph. He would be
Yeah.
snapping it to Trevor Simeon right now. So they're a little bit off. As far as you're right, man. As soon as he came in, the very first snap was high, and he had to grab it and yank it down. The fumbled snap in OT. There was a really, really high snap, I think, right towards the end of the game in the fourth
Hmm.
quarter when we were making that last drive. So yeah, I see major concern for that. But as far as the ones who have been anchored in their position over the course of the season, Jay Latham's doing much better.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
Sco is doing better this year than he was last year by far. Cush, it's hard to really gauge, but even Radens, man, you got to give it to him. Those three players have improved from the beginning of the season until now. So, excuse me, there is a little bit of development going on there, but other than that, not much to really talk about. So, and that's one of our most seasoned position coaches too.
Yeah.
So again, not really much to talk about except for the defensive backs, but I feel like that's a huge step as well because you're not having the two starters in there that you were going to have at the beginning of the season. So I feel like that deserves a little bit of a pat on the back as well.
Yeah, and again, I mean, the defense as a whole. When you talk about even that position, the defense as a whole, they've been successful this year. Even last week they were put in bad positions, did the best with what they could. But I don't foresee the defense being a problem moving forward for the rest of this year. I think again, it's just about young players to continue developing, do what they do best, and finding a spot on this roster for the years to come. I agree.
I agree. Yeah, I sounds like we're both in the same mind on that one. But that's pretty much it. I don't.
Yeah.
Do you got anything else you want to talk about this game before we start talking about other stuff?
No, I mean it
Wrap it up.
goes by quick. Goes by quick when you got a win to talk about. So yeah, continue showing up, continue rooting for this team. We said it last week. It may not be a good game, but it's going to be a wild one, and we were absolutely right. So I expect a lot more like this as the season goes on. But just find ways to win, find ways to be happy. Callahan, find ways to keep this locker room, and we'll see y'all for the next one.
Yeah, and we thank you if you've hung out with us the whole show. We absolutely appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed to us, please do on YouTube. If you do, we love you anyway. Get in the chats. Thank you, and we'll see you again Thursday for the pre-show for the Chargers. Is that
Yep.
right? All right.
LA, taking Levis to LA.
Woohoo! God bless us, America. I don't know. Thank you, Logan. We appreciate you. As always, until next time,
Tighten up.
tighten up. Peace out.